It's episode 3. Yay! Today's guest is Keith Lancaster, one of my best friends. I've known him for quite some time. He's a director, videographer, producer. Most recently, he was the producer of the hit documentary Rise of The Sufferfests, which is a crazy documentary on these like Tough Mudder competitions that have you go through like this intense 12-mile muddy obstacle course. It's freaking bananas, and really quite a fantastic documentary that you should buy or rent on iTunes as soon as you can because it's awesome. This episode we talk about anime, old Nintendo games, Final Fantasy, movies, and a little bit of politics, which I will warn you before we get into it, just in case you're tired of people just talking about politics. I know it's a crazy climate right now. We just couldn't help ourselves. And we just started getting into it. But I will give you a spot to fast forward before that goes on. That's my dog running in the background, if you can hear that. So yeah, I'll give you a spot to fast forward to, just in case you want to skip through all that and just get right back into the meat of the conversation. There you go. So let's get on with the episode. Here is Keith Lancaster. Yay! Whatever. So good to have you here, bro.
Thanks, man. This is really great. I want to say that I'm proud of you for doing it.
Oh,
it's
doing this,
cool.
doing all this, the podcasts and
working out the growing pains.
Yeah, this transitional period in my life. It's weird, just like throwing yourself out there and doing something different.
Yeah.
Than you have been doing for the past however many years I've been doing it since I was 16. Yeah. Been trying to make it as a musician. Gonna get signed, bro. We're gonna get signed. We're gonna tour the world and be so famous.
Well, you're famous to me.
Oh, that's very sweet of you. And you're famous to me. Even though you actually have IMDb credits.
I have a handful.
I do not have IMDb credits.
I have a movie playing in airplanes everywhere.
That's amazing. The Rise of the Sufferfests.
Man.
You know what? When you started doing that, I was so put off because I've known you for a long time. We actually met when we worked together here in Nashville at the Hustler store.
Yep.
And you just don't strike me as the guy who would go to these fucking Sufferfests and just kill yourself. These fucking Iron Man marathons. And then you started doing that after you moved to LA, and I hadn't seen you in years, and then you started doing that. I was like, what the fuck is Keith doing? Is he having a midlife crisis? What is going on?
Oh man. The funny thing about that though is that I wasn't that person. I'm still not that person. I was raised on this kind of principle of anything worth doing is worth doing well, and I was working on another movie, like a drama movie that I was shooting in Paris, and I had a friend who was a journalist, and he stumbled into that whole sport by writing an article that kind of took off. It was on 60 Minute Sports and stuff about like the contentious origins of Tough Mudder. And he got the idea to make a documentary, like a film about this topic. And I think I was the only filmmaker that he knew. And we weren't even that close. And he just kind of hit me up. He's like, hey, like, will you help me do this? And I was like, really? Tough Mudder? Like, I don't know. And then I showed up to a Spartan race and filmed it. And like I was still like smoking cigarettes and stuff, and I remember I lit up a cigarette on the course, like off to the side, not like where anybody but man, people from like 200 feet away were like seeing me and like giving me death stares, like that's gonna kill you. And so
how dare you?
Yeah, it was so funny. And like
because those guys are intense. Those guys do it
intense
fucking all the time.
And
it's like their life.
I was never athletic ever. I could do stuff. I was capable as a kid, rollerblading and stuff.
You never did any like Pop Warner football or soccer?
No,
or?
I mean, I played basketball, but I was such a runt growing up that like I was the kid that nobody would bother to guard on the basketball team because I was like,
don't worry about Lancaster, Johnson.
Right? No, seriously. I remember there's a game where I could just like shoot 3-pointers all day long. I wasn't very good at them, but like no one ever guarded me, so I could just like kind of take any shot I wanted. But anyway, so like I was like athletic, but not I'd never gone like far into anything, and this race looked so fun because it was just people covered in mud and like crawling through the dirt and like looking exhausted. Some people were bleeding. Like it was nuts, and I saw like all the barbed wire and all these walls, and it looked to me, I just saw like giant adult playground basically. Like how often do you get a chance to just go wild out in the woods somewhere? And so I just decided like I want to do one of these things, and if I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. And so like I quit smoking and I started running. I went from like I hadn't run a mile since like middle school, and then all of a sudden I'm running like 5 miles at a shot, and like it hurt a lot to like get into it. And then I just like ran my first one, and I actually broke my finger in the middle of the race. We were talking about this earlier, like the adrenaline, not knowing what happens to you. I broke my finger in the middle of the race and had no idea because it was like 3 degrees above freezing, and we were like swimming through water and stuff.
Oh my God. And people are like just screaming, and you're just like,
and I was just wearing shorts, and like, there was like sleet up in the mountains where I was doing it, and it was just cold and numb. And I got home and took a shower, and like all the mud in the bathtub and everything, and then all of a sudden my fingers started to kind of like ache a little bit. I was like, that's weird. And then it just turned black. Like, what is this? And then I was just kind of like, it's weird to say, but I was just kind of hooked on it after that. And like, it was a 3-year process making the documentary, and going around the world a couple times for it. And I just kind of like fell in. I don't really run them anymore, but like there was a race that I got my shoes stuck in like 2 or 3 feet of mud, and I tried to get them out, and when my feet came out, they came out without shoes. And so I just ran the rest of the race and finished without shoes on.
Oh my God.
And there's in the documentary, there's a picture of me like jumping over fire on these like sharp rocks with no shoes. Like,
I need to see that. Why I haven't seen that photo. I need to see that photo.
It's ridiculous.
Jesus, Keith.
But yeah, and so then I became that guy. But like, I'm still like, no, I'm like, my free time has been usually like video games and watching anime and stuff. So to get
anime
out
and
this
video
world.
games, that's where we bonded, you and I.
Exactly, we did.
Video games.
Yep, it was your affinity for Mega Man music.
Yes. And then the ridiculously unnecessarily complicated band that I was in as well. Where every song had different time changes and different tempo changes and
like 7 minutes long.
7 minutes long. It's like, what key is this in? 3 keys, actually.
At the same time.
At the time. It was so ridiculous.
Whatever. I like the beginner's mind. You guys were fun to watch. I mean, like, it was always one of those things. There are so many experiences you can have with music where, like, you see something live and you're just like, whoa, this is amazing. And then you listen to a recording of it, and you hear like the singer was all over the place or whatever, and like it just kind of bursts the bubble. But like, at least in the moment, I'm not commenting on the recording part, but at least in the moment, like, you guys were super fun to watch.
Yeah. I mean, we had 3 guitars. Yeah, 3 guitar players, because the singer Johnny wouldn't give it up. He was like, I'm playing guitar. That's it. We already have 2 guitar players. I'm playing guitar. So okay, well, all right, we're gonna have 3 guitar players then.
Yeah.
And then we had a percussionist / synth player / whatever.
I love Isaiah, but I always thought it was hilarious that there was you drumming and a percussionist just wailing on some bongos, like, just to throw it in there.
I don't know. I love Isaiah to death. He's a great drummer too. It was such an awkward position for me and then for him too, because I'm pretty sure all he wanted to do was play drums, because he's not a percussionist. That's not his passion.
Yeah.
But
he was hoping that you would give up so that way he could take your spot.
Hey, God, there was actually one time, I feel so bad for him. When we first moved to Nashville from Las Vegas, I took a gig because we were just still setting up and everything, and I took a 2-month gig in Ohio to play for this like country piano player. Put in Bay, Ohio. There it is. And the band told Isaiah that I just left without telling anybody. And they like, we don't know where Shane is, man. He just left out the door. We've been trying to get a hold of him, and and so the whole time, like, Isaiah's like probably thinking in his back of his mind, he's like, yeah, this is my time.
This is it.
This is
my
it.
chance.
I'm gonna be the drummer for this band now.
Man.
But I'm sure he was like, I hope he's okay, because I'm pretty sure he was concerned for my safety too.
Yeah,
no one
you
heard
could
about
tell
it.
yourself that.
Oh, those days.
Oh man, yeah. I still have a broken cymbal of yours that you gave me right before I moved to LA.
And it was signed.
It was signed. It looks like it's signed by Steve Wynn, but I know who it is.
Steve Wynn.
It just looks like Steve Wynn. Yeah, it's been beaten up a little bit over the course of whatever 12 years of moving, and but it's been hanging in my kitchen for years.
The hammer of Thor.
The hammer that is your hand.
The hammer of Thor that is my hand.
That is your hand.
You play too hard. I don't play hard enough.
How many cymbals do you think you've broken?
Countless.
Because I've seen
Countless.
videos of you playing with 5 knives, and I don't think you've gotten any lighter.
Definitely have not gotten any lighter, especially with the Five Knives music. I loved playing for Five Knives because it was just straight 4 on the floor most of the time, and so I could be like that drummer that's in the wrong band dude that you type in drummer in the wrong band. I could just like throw my arms around playing just the simplest beats.
Or do you mean Crazy Drummer who took over the title of your video?
Yeah, and then you renamed the video Crazy Drunk Drummer.
Yeah, I tried to make it unique. I was like, this guy's clearly stealing the thunder. What a dick.
Yeah, asshole. Why are you so good?
I just remember seeing, like, when you announced that you're doing this whole, like, podcast kind of, like, nerd culture blog thing, you made the trailer for it, and then you posted it, and then one of the shots is, like, a walking behind the drum set shot, of like you and a big crowd, and you're standing up just fucking wailing left and right on your 2 cymbals like as hard as you can.
Dude, that setup was so weird. That was for the Iconopop tour, and they wouldn't allow us to have real drums for some odd reason. It makes sense because, you know, I get it. It's an electronic show. But so we never did this before, so what we did is we set up an SPD, a little drum pad thing, and then I had a cymbal. I had a drum pad, a cymbal, and that's it. That's all I had. And so a lot of it was to tracks, and I would play, you know, some of the percussive parts and like really important areas that I can show off, whatever. But yeah, so there's most of the parts where it's during like the break in a song or like the drop that's coming, I can just like on the cymbal just with both of my hands. It's like, I gotta make this look cool. Like, I'm just sitting in front of a box and a cymbal. I mean, and I'm standing. So, and I don't know how to fucking dance or anything, so I might as well just throw my arms up as hard as I can.
When in doubt, go completely ape shit.
Yeah. It looked good.
It did. It looks really, that shot's amazing.
That was from my iPhone too.
Oh man. But yeah, this is fun because I feel like we've been talking about random crap for like
In the last couple days that you've been here.
in the last couple days, but
Yeah.
also just like in the last 13 years in general. I feel like I don't know what I haven't talked to you about at this point. So it's fun to like, and kind of weird to just formally do it.
I know, isn't this weird to have a microphone just stuffed right in your fucking face?
Yep.
And then you're talking to somebody. It's still weird to me. It's I'm slowly getting over the fact that I'm being recorded right now
Yeah.
because I'm just not confident. I've told you this before many times.
Notice until you just said that we were being recorded. I forgot, but now I'm a little weird.
Good. And that means this conversation is interesting, and you're not wanting to get the hell out of here.
I can't wait till it's done, and then we can go back to never talking.
Ever. We could just go into our separate rooms, and then you can leave tomorrow, get on a plane back to Portland.
I'll be taking your dog.
Good luck. Yeah, go ahead. Take him. Good luck. I've actually never seen him around a cat before, so I'm pretty sure he's going to go ape shit.
He'll be fine. Don't worry about it. He's basically a cat anyway.
Yeah, he's a cat dog. What did Ron Swanson and Parks and Recreation say? It's like, if you have a dog, That's less than 10 pounds. That is a cat, and cats are useless.
It is a cat. Well, what about my cat that was like 17 pounds?
Your cat's 17 pounds? Wait, Memphis is 17 pounds now?
No, he used to be 19.
Did he get that big? He's so small and tiny.
No,
And
he
so...
wasn't.
Yeah, he was.
You're remembering it wrong.
Am I remembering it wrong?
When he was like a year and a half old, my roommate, is right around the time I got my job at Hustler.
Yeah.
I had this roommate. His name was Johan. He's the guy I bought that Volkswagen from.
I remember your
awesome
Volkswagen.
GTI.
Yeah. Fucking speedster that thing was.
That thing was crazy. But yeah, so he he called him like one day. Memphis walks into a room and he's like, "Hey, what up, fat cat?" And I was like, "Dude, don't call my cat fat." He's like, "Dude, your cat's fat." And he was like, I did the math on this, and he was 1 year old at the time. He was still like so young, and he was already getting called fat.
Was he fat
but
though?
I mean, he was
19 pounds seems.
He was a little chubby, but even then, he was probably like. He was small. He wasn't fully grown yet, but he was probably like 12 pounds at that point, which is what an adult full-grown cat should be.
Yeah.
But yeah, he got up to 19, and then I got yelled at by a vet because I didn't understand, like, this is a little embarrassing, but so the package of food on that you feed to your animals, it has a little chart on the side of like weight of animal, how much daily they should be fed.
They put that chart there for stupid people.
Yeah. Well, get a load of this. So it ends at 15 pounds, and my cat was 17 at the time, and I was like, man, I don't know what to do. I guess I'll just feed him the 15-pound amount plus a little bit. I kind of like, I actually did like the ratios and worked out, okay, well, if 15, then what would it be for 17? I worked out like the next level of the chart and started feeding him for that. And then he went to 19 pounds, and that's when I took him to the vet. And the vet told me, like, you have a 12-pound cat. And I was like, wait, what? He's like, you have a 12-pound cat that weighs 19 pounds. You should be feeding him as a 12-pound cat. And I was like, oh my God, this whole time, like, I was measuring his food for like a year and a half trying to like diet him. And all I was doing was just making him huge.
It's a common mistake. I mean, come on. That's you know.
But anyway, so
plus
he might be a little diabetic, but he's alive and kicking and he's happy with all that food.
I wonder how you like exercise a cat, because I know you can exercise a dog, because that's what I tried to do with Pig, and because he's a dachshunds, and dachshunds are so like aware and just always like looking at you like, what's going on? Are we doing things? Like he's obsessed with that ball,
Oh yeah, dude.
And so like my idea is to just get him tired, and every time I get him tired, then he'll just be like, fuck it, I'm gonna go take a nap, and then like finally I can like play my video games or like sleep with my wife. I don't know. Or do something. But so how do you like exercise a cat? Because you can't take a cat on a walk.
Well, I think it's like I tried once when
with a leash. Yeah. You were that guy?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't that guy. It was just he was like 6 months old, and I was a new cat owner. This is right when I moved to Nashville. I was 19 years old. And the first thing I did was get Memphis before I even bought a bed. So like it was me and him sleeping on the floor, and I don't know, I saw a harness and I was like, oh, I'm gonna put a little thing on him, and I put it on him.
I think that's acceptable if it's a baby cat, if it's a kitten.
Well, exactly. So he's little, but I put the harness on him and he just went limp and fell over and wouldn't move. And gave up, completely gave up. And to this day, he's still like, my old roommates back in LA would buy him like holiday outfits. And if I was out of town, because I travel a ton, I'd be out of town, like I'd be in England or something, and I would get a text photo of Memphis with like a Santa hat and a beard on, and he's flopped over on his side, not moving, because that's what he does. Like when you put things on him, he just gives up.
I wonder if cats automatically have that. Like, no, I don't like this, because cats are free. Cats are independent. They don't like being harnessed.
Yeah, they're like real animals.
Yeah, they like don't give a fuck about
you. They still have their kind of like ancient ancestors in them.
Yeah, that's why I don't like cats, because they don't give a shit.
You live with a wolf,
I do.
You live with what used to be a
Damn right, and it's loyal.
I
And it
feel
will
bad.
attack. It will attack any intruders that come into my house. Cats.
As long as they're smaller than like 3 inches.
Well, maybe he's so cute. If an intruder comes in, he's like, "Well, I don't want to mess with this house. That
I'm
dog
gonna
is super
go.
cute."
I'll lock up on my way out.
Yeah, you know.
He leaves something he stole from the last house in your house as like an apology
Yeah.
for breaking the lock.
It's like, oh, that dog's so cute. Here's a coffee maker.
It's like the those really
Here's a
great
TV.
It's like those great campaign that they came out for Volkswagen when they remade the Beetle. I don't know. Did you ever see those?
I fucking hated the Beatles.
It's like this shady dude. Well, I mean, yeah,
not the band, but
Let's-
those cars.
most overrated
Band
ever.
We have a friend, we won't name him, but he has said in the past that the Beatles are the most overrated band ever. And I'm pretty sure those who are listening has a friend or someone who has said that the Beatles are the most overrated band ever.
There's always that person.
I just want you to know that people who say that are just saying it for hipster brownie points.
They're just trying to be cool. Which is funny because I don't know much about the Beatles. I've seen the Cirque du Soleil. I've listened to like Sgt. Pepper. I've listened to a few other records and like you can't grow up without having exposure to them. I don't know enough to be into them, but I would never say that they're overrated. Like I still think about Paul McCartney doing his thing. Like I have the last Paul McCartney record that came out. It's awesome. Like how a guy can get into, what is he, like late 70s or something now?
Yep.
And still feel like he has something unique to say and actually have something unique to say. Like that blows my mind.
He's one of the last living legends of that time period.
Totally.
You know, him and I guess Ringo too.
He's
but
from Black
Ringo's
and
kind
White.
of just does his own thing. He's like, I'm Ringo, do what I want. Hey Paul, I'm Ringo. Remember me?
Yeah, he sits at home, has a good time, and collects fat royalty checks. That's
Yeah,
what
he does. Yes, he does. And you know what?
That's a full-time job, opening all those envelopes.
And speaking of overrated, underrated, he's one of the most underrated drummers, like pocket drummers.
Underrated? I feel like everybody loves Ringo.
I don't know, man. Like people don't really like it's because he didn't do anything like fucking I don't know like Terry Bozzio status where he's like
No,
look how many
he wasn't
symbols I
super
have.
syncopated and weird, but
like he would put things in the pocket that were like, oh, that's really cool, and then go back into the beat. Like he was very good at just showcasing just a little bit here and then just go back to the beat.
totally. And that's like, I'm just in a spot now where at 32, for the first time in my life, I'm playing music with people.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. And people like him are really inspiring to me because I know a lot of really, really amazing, super technical drummers. Like I have a whole cast of friends, you included, who I watch play and go like, I'm never going to get there. Like I don't have the million hours in a day to practice for the next 10 years to try to do that. Like it's just not going to happen for me. Like I have a full-time career going on, and like but then there's people like Ringo where it's just like, okay, awesome, just like
Have fun with it.
Solid pocket drummer, play something appropriate, and that's still good.
Yeah.
You don't need to be technically freaking amazing to be like a good rhythm keeper,
Right.
and to fit into a song well. And
Yeah. Well, that's the beauty.
it's like-
That's the beauty of music. That's what makes like those like hipsters, like our friend who says the Beatles are overrated, where they're, it has to be different and something that no one's ever heard before. It's like, well, yeah, I could see the merit to that, and that's what makes music going forward. And but at the same time, all you need is a catchy little tune. Do you want to ride in my blimp?
Yeah.
Like
Or,
super simple.
I don't want to check my bank account.
It's the stupidest line, but that thing will get caught in your brain, and you will be singing it for the rest of the day.
Totally.
Super simple, and that's what the beauty of music is. It doesn't have to be super overly complicated, because if it's overly complicated, then it'll go in one ear and out the other for most people, unless you're just you're trying to get better at your instrument and you're learning and you're charting and you're okay, and then it gets in your brain that way. But most people just listen to music and they're like, oh, that's really cool. I like that song.
Yeah.
Next.
Next.
Next track.
Oh,
I love Katy Perry.
So I know that like your millions of listeners are gonna be really upset because I didn't resolve the Volkswagen commercial thing.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
I
Sorry.
just need
We
to
got
get to
on a
that real
little-
quick.
Yeah. Tangent.
Tangent.
Sorry.
So there's a great campaign where these like shady looking dudes, I don't know if it was multiple people in like different commercials, but I just remember there was one specific commercial where there's like kids playing at a park and like their moms around and everything. It was very wholesome neighborhood vibe, and a little like yellow beetle parked on the sidewalk, and this guy is like coming down the sidewalk like checking door handles and stuff, and he's like going down, and this beetle's unlocked, and so he like looks around and he gets inside, and he's like looking around, and like somehow like in all movies like the keys are like in the door flap or the visor, the sun visor. Like who puts their keys there? Nobody, but they're always there in the TV
Or in movies. Yeah.
and so he like gets the keys and he fires up the car and he takes off with it, but as he's driving it he just like notices how cute it is. And it's like this little yellow beetle, and it's like the inside of the door has yellow details, and they have the little flower holders, you know, like next to the steering wheel, and so there's like a little toy flower, there's like a little note from like I love mommy or whatever on it too. And he's like looking around this cute ass little car and like how it like turns corners really well as he's trying to steal it, and then he ends up driving it around the block and he parks it back in the spot and walks away because he can't steal it, it's too cute. So
I've actually never seen that commercial. But
that's what your dog's gonna do to people that want to break into your house.
that is exactly what would
get
happen.
you in your sleep.
That is exactly what would happen.
Yep, pretty much. Anyway, back to music.
Back to music, I guess.
Oh man, but so just to keep things going, I've heard your first two episodes. You were playing Mass Effect through both of them.
Yes, I have. Yes, because I don't have as much time as I used to playing video games.
Because
when you're
you're
at
making
home.
podcasts.
Yeah, making podcasts, editing videos, trying to get my drum set up to do more covers, and that's been interesting. Because I've never used like electronic drums before, and these apparently are different. And we tried to set it up at Kyle's studio, and it took like a full day to get it set up, because apparently the Infuse module is an interface as well. So when we tried to plug it in through Logic, it would have a tough time reading the module, and we couldn't get any sounds going. And that happened for like 3 hours. And we were on the phone talking to the Infuse people, and they didn't know what was going on, but they immediately said it's probably an interface issue with Logic. And of course we didn't believe them. We thought we knew what we were fucking doing.
Of course.
And it took us 4 hours to realize, like, oh yeah, they're right. Oh yeah, it is Logic. So it's whatever in Logic's settings that wouldn't allow it to the MIDI to go through. But we used Ableton at the end of the day, and Ableton just picked it up immediately.
Sweet.
And Ableton uses it's like the MIDI king. You could
Is it?
Yeah, you could just set anything via MIDI through Ableton, and it worked like a charm.
Nice.
So,
That's cool.
so for future covers and stuff, I'll probably go to his nicer studio because it looks nice and I like it to be.
What's the next cover gonna be?
I
Have
don't
you?
know.
No?
I'm thinking about doing a Ken Street Fighter one. I sent you the text of the storyline I wanted to
yeah. Yeah, I won't give any of it away.
do. Don't give it away, but that one I think is going to be pretty funny. I think
that
that
would
one
be amazing.
But I think I'll do like some like other covers here at home just to do for fun, and because it'll be easy to turn out, and just do some like Lufia 2. I'm getting into that soundtrack again, in which you've never played.
I haven't.
It's a great game. There's Lufia 1 and Lufia 2.
Yeah, back in the day when Super Nintendo was around, I was too busy playing, I don't know, Mario Kart, stuff like that. I never got into the role playing games. I mean, I played original Zelda, like gold cartridge Zelda. Like I have video of Christmas 1989 when I opened up my Nintendo, my first Nintendo, and we were playing like the Mickey Mouse game, and which was super hard. And all those games were super hard. I just realized that like as a kid, I would just play the first 20 minutes of
And then just
every game
give up.
over and over and over and over, to the point where now that I'm revisiting them on emulators and stuff, I'll get through every part that I remember from the game like in the first sitting and realize like, wow, I played none of this. Like I was really bad. But
Those games were so hard as kids. Like when I first got Mario, I had my dad finish a lot of the stages because I couldn't do it. I was 5.
Yeah. That's so funny. My dad played Nintendo like twice, and both times he would have to set the controller down onto a coffee table in front of him and then use it like a keyboard, where he would like put his fingers down on it. So like A and B would be his 2 pointer fingers on his right hand, and then he would use his pointer finger, middle finger on his left hand to do the direction pad.
That's so weird.
It's the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Playing it like a fucking keyboard. That's
yeah,
so weird.
and I was just like, okay, not playing games with Dad anymore.
Dad doesn't know how to game.
Dad can't do it.
I mean, I guess that what works though if you get the joystick, the Pro controller.
I guess.
Remember that? They would sell that like with the the arcade looking controller.
Totally. Yeah.
I had friends who had that.
I was playing, F-Zero, and before that, I mean, things like Pro Wrestling. That game was sweet. Did you ever play Pro Wrestling?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Okay, good.
The black cartridge or the black box Pro Wrestling?
I think so.
It had the guy with the weird starfish face.
Yeah, man.
The purple dude?
Mm-hmm, the purple dude. Yeah, where all you basically do is just suplex people over and over and over again until
Throw 'em
eventually...
outside the ring.
Yeah, and then you just like, you punch them in the face and then cover them up, and then they kick out, and then you kick them and then cover them up, and you just do it over and over again until eventually like it counts to 10.
I'm thinking about doing like some Let's Plays, like bringing back and like getting a Raspberry Pi and doing some Let's Plays with like old ass fucking Nintendo games, kind of similar to what Mike Matei and them at Cinemassacre do.
I mean, there's so many thousands of games that even like...
Did you ever play River City Ransom?
I've heard it. No, it sounds familiar.
Dude,
but...
it was such a cool game back in the day. And it's become like an underground obsession for a lot of people because it was a fighting game like Double Dragon, but there was RPG elements.
Huh.
Yeah, and then you can like gain experience and like there's a storyline to it, and you can like it's kind of like open worldy where you can go into shops and buy things and
weird.
Yeah, and it was old Nintendo.
It was like NES.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Cool.
Yeah.
Man, there's I have my brother was building. I told you about this the other day. My brother is building those little Raspberry Pi emulating systems that you can fit in an NES cartridge.
Yeah.
So instead of like the game chip at the bottom, it's USB ports and an HDMI port, and you have like the entire catalog of all Atari, NES, SNES, Sega Genesis, Sega Master System,
All in that little bit.
and all the MAME stuff, which is like the arcade
Yeah.
preservation project. So like literally any game from your childhood is right there. Anything before Nintendo 64. And it's been so fun to just like, you go to the NES section and it's like 1,268 games. And you're like, I don't even know where to start.
Where do you start?
And
Start
like,
with the games you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Exactly. And like, yeah, you just realize how bad some of them are. Like,
Oh, yeah.
some of these things were just made in a week, and just like, oh, whatever, let's just take this game and change the colors and make it, about fairies and wizards instead of...
It's funny, speaking of bad games, the famous Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde that Angry Video Game Nerd has reviewed over and over again and got famous for. I actually remember playing that, not remembering the name of the game. And I thought as a kid...
Can you not remember the name of the...
I remember the picture on the cartridge because it was such a cool looking, like, oh, there's a man with this half green face and he's like, "Ugh," and I'm like, whoa, what a cool cartridge. And I remember playing it and be like, this is so hard. Why is this game hard? I must suck. And then I watched that review and I'm like, oh, it's just a terrible game. Oh, okay. It's not me.
Just you.
It's not me.
It's everybody. It's them.
It is actually really terrible.
Yeah, no, it's I still love that review, how it starts out with him just like no explanation. He just puts it in and plays it and like gets 30 feet and then dies from like a bee or something, and then all of a sudden like he just wakes up as like a goblin and starts going the other direction, and then lightning just kills him.
Just out of nowhere.
And then it just cuts back to him and he's just staring at the screen. It's like game over after 20 seconds of play.
That was our feeling every time playing those kind of games. Just like, what the fuck just happened?
Exactly. Yeah.
Why is this? You know what game was really fucking hard? Is Double Dragon 3.
Oh my god.
That game is too fucking hard. Why is that game so fucking hard? They like upped up the difficulty just for the fuck of it because they thought, let's be different.
It's like, you know what, guys? People beat the last one. We don't want that to happen.
Yeah. We want to show people how it is to be in a real fight. You're actually going to get your ass beat a lot.
Comes out of the TV. And just like you're just going to get your
This is what it feels like to get your ass kicked every day.
The time it takes to be good at that game is the time it takes to actually be good at fighting. To like go to a trainer.
They're trying to teach us all a lesson that we should stop playing video games as much as we are, and just start learning real life fighting.
Yeah, well, if you follow the whole like video games make people more violent thing, then I'm surprised more people didn't go learn how to fight after playing Double Dragon.
Right. I mean, I would blame like kung fu movies more than I would blame video game.
Right? They're so violent. Games. I go to a kung fu thing in Portland every month. It's amazing. There's like a community nonprofit theater called the Hollywood Theater, and they do a lot of like email blasts, vote for whatever movie you want us to play this month or whatever, and they do big releases too. Mm-hmm. But it's the second Tuesday of every month. The guy who owns it. He has the second biggest kung fu collection in the world outside Quentin Tarantino. And they know each other. They're friends. They trade movies. And like Quentin's even come to some of these before. And he just like puts out an email blast like next Tuesday is going to be the only known 35 millimeter print of like the 7 Grandmasters or whatever. Just like every single time it's the only known 35 millimeter print, and people just pile into this theater. It sells out every time, and you just like you get a beer, you get some popcorn, and you just like laugh at these kung fu movies that are so violent and so like someone hits you with a karate chop and all of a sudden there's a slice in the shirt and blood coming out of it. Like as if it was a knife, and stuff like that. It's like the craziest
exploding
things.
Heads by a head punch explode.
It pretty much, yeah. And like, yeah, it just things where half of these movies end in like a huge epic fight where, like the underdog is trying to kill this evil master or whatever. And then the master leaves like some quick opening and the underling kind of, has this chance to use everything he's learned in the whole movie to like land this one strike in the opening, and he does, and it goes like like echoes out, and then the guy goes whoa and like flies back, and then it like freeze frames and says end. Like the guy doesn't even hit the ground. The movie's end like the second the final blow is struck. Like you don't even get to see the guy die. You just assume that's what happens, and like the movie ends almost immediately.
It's when they didn't realize how to end a movie. They're just like, well, there's nothing else to do from here.
Or,
he's dead now.
I mean, think about all the movies like, I'm not going to say anything about something like Lord of the Rings, but...
Dude, it's been so long since I've watched
some of those movies have like 7 endings as you're trying to like, all right, we're at 2.5 hours in. I thought it was over
Let's
3
wrap
times
it up
now. And like the music cues all tell you credits are about to come up. It fades to black and then it fades up a new scene. And you're just like, what the hell is going on?
We still have an hour left of movie.
I think the Chinese knew something. I think the Chinese knew what was going on, and they were like, you know what? People are here to see the action. They want to see the story. As soon as it's over, no more movie. Like, there's no point.
You know what I thought was interesting about those old movies? Watching like old Bruce Lee flicks, like a lot of those, the ones that he made in Hong Kong, which were most of them. The ending of those, spoiler alert, the ending of a lot of those where he would beat the final boss, he would kill him or something, and then he'd be arrested.
Really?
Yes. He would. I know at least in 2 movies that is the ending of the movie.
It's to show you that fighting is bad.
Yeah,
Shane.
there's just a nice little moral lesson at the end of it. Like revenge doesn't get you everything. You know,
It
So
does.
that's-
It just also gets you in jail.
Yeah. So you can kill him, but just let you know you are gonna go to jail.
Oh, that's why you just have to hurt them badly.
Or
Not-
there
not
was
kill
one.
them.
Do you remember the famous one where he like jumps towards like the cops? There's this one ending where he's beaten all the people. He's killed the final boss. It's the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
The police all show up, and they're like, there's like 17, 20 policemen
With guns.
just in a hall and just down a street corner, whatever. And then they're all pointing their guns at him, and Bruce Lee is like, I must do this, and he turns towards the police and jumps towards the police, and then it freeze frames,
Like
and
flying
then-
kick or something?
Yeah, flying kick, freeze frame, and then everyone goes, and the cops, all you hear is like just guns firing, and then that's the end of the movie.
Man.
Like, what a terrible ending.
But it's kung fu, so you know he somehow dodged all the bullets. Like one at a time, took them all
I
out.
forget what movie, but watching that as a kid, I was like, what, he dies?
Oh yeah, it's a little tough for a kid. I don't think they're meant for young people. How old were you when you
Oh
watched
man, I was young. My dad would always let me watch all this. That's how I got into Jean-Claude Van Damme. I started watching Bruce Lee, and then he showed me Jean-Claude Van Damme. Like, was Bloodsport. No, Kickboxer. Kickboxer was my first
Kickboxer.
Jean-Claude Van Damme movie.
Nice.
And just, man, I fell in love with all sorts of training sequences after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because those are kind of like, it's like Rocky on steroids
Yeah.
in a way, with like a way bigger, like life is what's at stake, not like your boxing reputation or whatever.
Yeah. Fuck your boxing reputation. This is to the death, man.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, that's what I always appreciate about that kung fu stuff. They like invented their own thing. That's almost like there's like cinema and then there's kung fu movies, and they're almost not even part of the same thing.
Yeah, I always wonder, like, why don't like huge blockbuster action movies ever get like Oscar nominations?
Well, it's actually, I mean, there's a lot of people that have different opinions of that, but I mean, things like, well, I guess not action, but big budget things like Avatar,
Yeah, I guess so.
Avatar got nominated for a lot of stuff, but that was kind of for its kind of technical wow. It really entranced people at the time. But for the most part, what makes a big budget movie, they call them tentpole movies in the industry, and that refers to, like, think of a circus tent and the big center mass that like holds everything up.
Mm-hmm.
That's the tentpole, and those movies make so much money that they float the studio to be able to make more genre specific movies. So everybody's making these giant like comic book movies and all this stuff, and most of the time they're not like phone-ins. The people who work on them work really hard,
Right.
but they aren't written to make you think. They're written to make you escape. And
Okay.
they're designed to appeal to the common denominator. They need to make a lot of money, which means everybody needs to like them, or 80% of everybody needs to like them.
Yeah, but really, does La La Land need to be fucking the best movie in the world?
So that's a whole other thing, though, because I saw La La Land after the Oscar season, and I didn't think it was very good at all.
But that's what I'm
It was
talking about. Like all those kind of movies, where I call them sleepers.
At the same time, though, Moonlight was great, and at the same time, like the best movie that I saw last year was a Ghibli movie called The Red Turtle, and it was nominated for Best Animated Picture along with like Zootopia, which was good, but it's the big action, big budget version of a cartoon. There's Kubo and the Two Strings. Kubo, I don't know if you saw trailers for that. It's awesome. Like the animation effort is, I think it's a Leica movie, being animation, like digital and clay kind of stuff.
Oh, cool.
Very stop motion-y stuff, but like looks amazing. They had Kubo, which was like a really great kind of American Western attempt at an animated story that hits and feels like a regular story that's not just for kids. But even then, they put enough in there to make it kind of family and for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing. If you're trying to make money, you're watering down your product and you're making something that's just fun and something that people can watch and escape. And the movies that get the awards are the ones that take risks and the ones that are actually saying something, which usually turns into some kind of like a hot button topic. Anything that you're hearing in the news, things that have to do with like any kind of equal rights situation,
Right.
any kind of very strong like human perseverance story, like, you know, stories based on true stories of people who made it through crazy experiences, stuff like that. Because
I guess that makes sense now.
yeah,
You know, that when you explain it like that, I was like, okay, so it is for exactly that. It's for the more things that actually will change the industry in some way, shape, or form. It's like making the industry go forward. And
it's not even that. It's the ones that treat the industry as an art form.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, like, you can say all you want about the Oscars. Like, I view them the same way as I view the Grammys. There's a lot of politics. There's a lot of crazy stuff. There are a crap load of amazing movies out there that you will never hear about if you just watch the stuff that gets advertised to you. You know, like The Red Turtle. I didn't see anything for that, and I watched that. My old screenwriting professor actually texted me because I've been trying to get him to watch Studio Ghibli movies forever. I've seen all 23 of them, and
Sad that they shut down.
They didn't shut down.
I thought they shut down.
No, they didn't. Shane.
I thought they shut down. Did they not?
No, they didn't shut
Did
down.
they change studios or something?
Nope.
Something happened with studio. Tell me what happened then.
They well, really quick, even my I was trying to get him to watch these movies forever, and I was telling him about, you know, the staples: Princess Mononoke, Spirited Away, like the T-shirt that I have on right now. You know, and even things like Totoro or whatever that are kind of more for a younger audience, or but like the way I thought I would sell him is Grave of the Fireflies, if you've ever heard of that. It was a post World War II or during World War II drama about two siblings that are estranged from their parents when the nuclear bomb gets dropped.
Oh shit.
And the entire movie is basically the two of them clinging to each other for survival and slowly starving to death.
Oh,
and
that sounds
Roger. So yeah,
this sounds very uplifting movie.
Keep in mind, this is a hand-drawn, animated, basically anime movie. And Roger Ebert, back when it came out, called it the most effective anti-war movie ever made.
Wow.
And it kind of proved that these kinds of movies have power in them. It's not like you don't have to make an animated movie like a Pixar movie, which I mean, Pixar movies are great. I love them. But you can say really deep things and go really far with the medium. But anyway, so he finally like watches The Red Turtle. I hadn't even seen it yet. He saw it before me, and he was like, "Hey, this is a text," and he was like, "I just saw The Red Turtle. It was my favorite movie of last year.
Oh wow.
Now I have to go back and watch all these Ghiblis that you've been telling me to watch." And I'm like, "Thank you." So I go watch in the theater. Movie just messed me up, like, completely. I saw it twice in the theater, actually. It's so good. The Red Turtle. There's not a word of dialogue in the whole thing.
Really?
Well, a guy says "hey" like 3 times, like yelling it out, looking for people. He's stuck on an island.
That's
lost.
crazy. What a great little idea. That's
it's
really impressive that it was able to convey so much emotion with no words.
Unbelievable. It's really good. But so Ghibli, Hayao Miyazaki is
because I remember reading something on like Kotaku or some blog was like Studio Ghibli is going down and it's sad day for everybody or something like that. I was like, holy shit, really?
Yeah. So Hayao Miyazaki, I can't. He's one of like he's the father of it all, right? He kind of is the face of Ghibli,
right?
He even draws and everything. Like he does like everything in these movies, when he started out, and he's getting old. And
as you do,
except for me, I don't know what you guys are like. Aging is for suckers. But anyway, like he's announced his retirement like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times or something. He'll just be like, "This is my last movie in the foreseeable future. I don't know if I'm gonna make another one." And then 2 years later, like, he makes another one. And so they announced that, I don't know if it was for financial reasons, but they announced that Ghibli was going to stop basically in-house producing content, movies and stuff.
So
They're
gonna
focusing
outsource?
they're focusing on short films and stuff. But yeah, so The Red Turtle is a movie that was directed by a Dutch English guy named Michael, I think Dudok de Wit or something. I don't know how to pronounce his name. But
That's very Dutch.
Yeah. And his entire staff was European people. You just see like a crap load of French names
So
in
are
the
they?
credits.
So they're just they're strictly producing then?
Yeah. So what
Okay.
they basically did was they kind of, I think they might have co-written it with him, but for the most part, it was like this guy and his studio making a movie with the stamp of approval and the financial support and distribution support
Of
from
studio.
Ghibli. So it's like the movie starts and it has the blue screen with Totoro on it and it says Studio Ghibli, and it's like it's an official Ghibli film, but it's also the first Ghibli film that wasn't
Animated by
drawn by people. When you watch the credits at the end, there are like 6 Japanese names and they're all under producers, and everybody else is like Spanish and French.
So does it have
and
the
English.
same? Does it have the same sort of? Do they try to go for the usual Ghibli feel and look? Like, because when you
So-
watch a Ghibli film, you know you can tell it's a Ghibli film and drawn by
Yeah.
what's his name? I'm terrible with Japanese names, so I apologize.
Hayao Miyazaki.
Yeah,
Um,
Miyazaki.
Yeah, but even then, there are other artists. There are a lot of artists in that world. And also, I mean, I know you're not, I was surprised to find this out, but I know you're not like the biggest anime watcher. But there are a lot
There's
of
so
people.
many. I'm like
there
I'm
are
too
so
I'm too
many.
much into video games in my free time. Like
No, I get it.
yeah, it's just like video games take up most of my time. And
Yeah, the last one that I watched was 148 episodes, something like that, which is a lot. I mean, they're 20 minutes long a piece, but that's still about 50 hours of content, and which is like playing a game.
yeah.
You know, watching Hunter x Hunter, whereas you said Hunter by Hunter.
Hunter by Hunter. I just thought that was.
But Hunter x Hunter was a 50-hour commitment, and
You know what else
It's
too?
worth
What drives me crazy about anime sometimes because there was a time when I was, I don't know, in my early 20s when I was really into anime, and I watched Evangelion and Berserk.
I just watched Evangelion for the first time.
Oh, did you?
A few months ago.
It's fucking crazy, right? That last season is kind of like,
Yes.
what the fuck is going on?
yeah. It's
Like, why is this becoming such a philosophical conversation?
yeah. I went from like not really into it to kind of. My friend George Woods, he's the one who was like, "You have to watch this," because we traveled.
It's
Europe
a classic.
in
It's a
January
yeah.
together, and we just like got into all these anime arguments, and just to push his buttons, I would like, because he knows all of them. Like he knows so much more about anime than I do, so much more. But I just can't help but like when I mention something that I like, and then he mentions something from like 15 years before that probably did it better, and I'm just like, fuck this guy. So I just start like pushing his buttons on saying like, it's no, it's no, whatever, like some new thing.
It's no
But we-
Attack on Titan.
We
you know?
traded. I got him to watch Hunter x Hunter, which he's always avoided because of how many episodes there are, and he got me to watch Evangelion. But I started like, and I really tried. I just didn't. It's so out there, and
It's so out there.
and I started like kind of not into it, and then I started really getting into it, and then like the last 4 episodes, I was just like, I have no idea. Like everything I thought I knew, I don't anymore. In fact, who am I? Where did I come from? And like, is this real life? And then the last episode ended, and I just kind of like wandered out of my house, like
See,
not
but
knowing what
that
to do.
that like pissed me off. Like I was so into Evangelion, and the last 4 episodes just threw me for such a loop. It was just so much different than the rest of the story was going.
Yeah. It's
'Cause I
all
was
black
thinking, it's like-
background and like
There's gonna be a huge ending here, and someone's gonna come out the winner, and I'm not gonna be, I'm not. But instead, I was
No.
like questioning my very being.
yeah,
And then there was that one scene in the hospital. You know what scene I'm talking about, right?
I think so.
You know what fucking scene I'm talking about, where it's just out of fucking nowhere. You're like, what the fuck
Oh.
just happened?
Yeah,
Should I do a spoiler alert? Spoiler alert. This is what happens. So one of the girl, Ray, I think is her name Ray?
Ray, I know, yeah.
Ray gets injured, whatever, and she's in the hospital bed, and it's because of what's his name? Shinji.
Shinji. Yeah.
Shinji. It's because of Shinji's been fucking like having this emotional crisis, and that's what gets her really hurt and almost killed. And so he feels bad, and so he visited her in the fucking hospital, and he's sitting next to her, and for some odd reason her blouse comes open, exposing her breasts, and for some reason he decides to jerk off. And then after that he goes, "Man, I'm so fucked up," and then the scene ends. Do you remember that part?
The funny thing is that I don't remember that happening.
Dude, I remember that.
I remember.
That's the only thing I remember for the whole fucking.
I remember
whole fucking show.
I remember everything, man. I wish I had George on speakerphone so I could just figure out if that actually happened.
We should just FaceTime him real quick. Be like, hey, you're on the podcast. So do you remember this fucking scene? Can you tell me why they decided that this was a good idea?
They do weird things, man. That's the thing. Okay, so going really quickly, I tangent so much, and I think you do too. We have that in common. But I'm trying to get better at like resolving my tangents, so we can go back to the Studio Ghibli conversation about you asking me about the animation of Red Turtle. So it's hand animated. It feels kind of Ghibli-y, but it's definitely different. But in the same way that Tale of Princess Kaguya, which I know you've never seen, is basically... Have you ever seen those greeting cards that are still like very Japanese, but everything, that style of art that's all watercolor, soft brush strokes,
right? Yeah.
And the backgrounds just kind of blend off to white.
Yeah.
Like there are no hard edges in borders. The entire movie of Kaguya is that.
Oh wow, that's
where
cool.
everything looks like a hand-painted watercolor. And in some of the crazy scenes, like really emotional scenes where the girl's like running off and like her headspace is nuts, it's just scribbles. It's just streaks of color that kind of, when they're animated, resemble a girl running through fields. But it's just splashes of red going on. It's like really unique. And so a lot of the Ghiblis have varied in art style. But Red Turtle's kind of like middle of the road. It's very, it's not American. It's very European. If you've ever seen any like French animation or anything like that, it makes sense. It's kind of like a blend.
Can't say I have. I'm not much of a movie buff as yourself.
I'm actually not that much of a movie buff either.
Well, you're in this industry. You're not. You've watched a lot more films than I have.
Probably.
Maybe not. Maybe saying movie buff is.
I've probably watched more like quote unquote good movies than you have, but you've probably watched more than I have when it comes to like Jean-Claude Van Damme. And
that is true. I've watched every single Jean-Claude Van Damme movie there is,
or just like any kind of movie, like like that.
Even the bad ones like Replicant. Terrible movie.
Have you
Just
watched
awful.
stuff like Blade Runner or anything?
You know
like
what's
that?
funny?
Harrison
Like
Ford and...
I have never watched Blade Runner, and that to my discredit. Like I hate myself for not watching Blade Runner because I love that style of like sci-fi, like dystopian future kind of stuff, which I'm super excited that the makers of The Witcher 3 are doing something similar to that, and that kind of dystopian future kind of. So I'm really excited to see what they come up with that.
Will you do me a favor?
I'm sorry. Did you know that the Swedish government, is it Swedish? They're Swedish, either Swedish or Dutch.
They're always up to something.
I forget what where the studio resides, but whatever area's government actually gave them a grant to make their next game.
Whoa.
That's how good The Witcher 3 is.
Dang. Or that's just
said,
how good some of those Northern European countries are.
Yeah. Yes, they're much better than us, and they support art.
I mean,
we do not.
Yay for video games being considered art.
Fuck yeah.
Like I even had a hard time with it because a lot of the stories are just kind of like, I guess, for a long time, kind of generic based on stories that have already been told. Like one of my favorite Final Fantasy games, 8.
I love 8. That's my favorite.
They stole the entire space sequence basically from 2001 Space Odyssey. Like the music, the shots, like the camera angles and everything. And, when it's 1998 and, I'm 14 years old, I don't know that kind of thing. And then fast forward 10 years and I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching 2001 with other like film people, and I'm like, guys, this is just like Final Fantasy VIII, and they look at me like,
how dare you? Get the fuck out of here.
yeah, pretty much. That's like, but that's the relationship that I have with a lot of the people that I, am like the people in my circles I'm friends with, like because of Rise of the Sufferfest. I just know basically like tons of athletic people and tons of music or tons of movie people, and like a lot of them just don't get the whole video game anime thing.
Really? You like? I don't know. I guess.
And they
I'd
should,
be really
though.
because I always wondered like what would happen if a movie writer who does strictly movies all of a sudden said, "I want to do a video game."
Happened.
Where? Who did?
It's called Ni no Kuni.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I actually never played Ni no Kuni. You've been telling me to play that game forever.
So Ni no Kuni is like a story and character design, story written, character design by Studio Ghibli. They decided, let's make a game.
Yeah.
And we'll hire this company to make the game and like actually like make it work, but like we'll come up with the story and we'll invent the characters and we'll make a Ghibli world that's a video game.
And apparently it worked out really well. I've never played it,
It's
but
freaking awesome.
yeah, it's considered one of the best role-playing games that's ever existed.
It was really good, but it's in the same way that we have all these real voice talents doing stuff. Like I have a old buddy from back in the day in LA who's the lead voice on Final Fantasy 15.
Yes, I have a signed copy because of you. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. You're very welcome. Other people that I've known and worked with in the past are like voices on Attack on Titan, but then they're also doing Persona 5. So like
I wonder how that all works.
Doing all the same stuff.
I would love to pick his brain. What's his name again? I forget.
Ray?
His name. Ray. Yes,
Yeah.
I would love to pick his name. Pick his name. Pick his name. I'd love to pick his name because Ray sucks. No, I mean,
Yeah.
pick his brain because that whole world. I kind of want to like give it a shot because I feel like
it'd be fun, huh?
I'm a terrible conversationalist, obviously, but I feel like I could. I don't know. I feel like I have enough personality that I could do some sort of voice talent.
I think you could. I definitely think you could. It was one of those things. So my brother and I were like name. I'm not gonna no name dropping. I'm not gonna be that guy. But when we were hanging out in January with a guy who's like a fairly big musician from the 90s, and I was super shocked to find out that so his band didn't go quite as with all the news about like Chris Cornell today. He was from that era and just kind of not quite as big because of like business decisions and stuff. Everybody knows those bands that like could have been kind of like Anvil or whatever. But I was shocked to find out that like in this modern, like in the later version of his life, since he's not touring like all the time, he's still making albums and the band's still around. But he has friends that own like Shadow Machine, the company that did like Robot Chicken and stuff, I think.
Yeah.
And stuff. So he would just like go and be a random voice for a character in some movie, and then or like a voice for a character on a show. And he was like, dude, you have no idea how fun it is. It's just so fun to just like, so here's this like guy who's been a musician his whole life, and then he meets a guy who has a company and gets to like fulfill that little dream. He's like, I didn't even know it was a dream of mine. It was just like, it's
Dude,
just
I would
so
love
fun.
to do that. I would so love to do. Actually, I've been meaning to record. Some company is re-releasing a TurboGrafx 16 game. I forget what it's called. It's like Legend of something. Legend of blah, blah, blah. Something, and it was one of those. Did you ever have a Sega CD or like those?
I didn't.
But you know what kind of game I'm
Sega.
talking about, where there's like these anime cinematics,
Totally.
and then it go back to the game, anime cinematic, go back to the game,
Yep.
kind of thing. And it was old shitty cinematics too,
Yeah.
because it was like
so
8-bit.
compression. It was just made out of blocks. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just nothing but pixels,
Yeah.
like hand drawn by Microsoft Paint.
Like if you put your eye like 2 inches away from your TV, basically.
Yeah. So apparently they're re-releasing the game, Indiegogo or whatever, and they're open calling for auditions. And I saw that and I was like, man, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it a shot. I got an audio set up. I'm going to
do
give it a
it.
shot. And
That's
you can
awesome.
audition for all the characters, like every single one, as many
Sweet.
as you want.
Yeah, just do the shotgun approach. Just like spray your shit all over the place.
Just
and
do it all of it.
maybe
I hope
one.
the deadline hasn't passed though, because I've been like kind of doing other things and concentrating on other things and totally forget about it. But it's like lines are like, okay, here we go, or something like that. It's just like small little lines like, in this scene, he's overlooking the past and before they go into war.
Okay, here we go. you just did it. You
I just did it.
take that clip and...
Next
In
scene.
fact, do you want to just take the next 10 minutes to run through all your lines? We can do it right now just so you can kill two birds.
I would. I don't have my phone. I can go to the site and just give it a shot. But I actually had another idea that would be pretty cool. I'm not going to say it because someone's going to steal it. Somebody's stealing it. I'll tell you after the podcast. But I have another idea that I want to use.
Nice.
Something involving retro games and all my friends.
Oh, nice.
You can kind of get where I'm going, but
maybe.
I'll
just tell me, and then I can steal it.
All right, I'll tell you, and then I'll edit it out if because I really don't. It's a great idea, and I don't want people
just
to
put like a beep over the.
So you know how, dude, it'd be so fun. It'd be a fun project to do.
Sweet, yeah, totally. I have a question for you, actually. That's pertinent to this genre of material that we're talking about. Do you ever find yourself needing to, because I know you surround yourself with people that get you for the most part. I feel like you've always had a crew of people that they're like, oh, Shane, but they still they get it because it's you. Do you find yourself having to like ever explain or justify your love for video games?
All the time.
Okay. Yeah.
All the time. I've talked about this the last couple, like the last podcast with Soren, we talked about it a little bit where, as when you were a kid and you said you play video games, you felt kind of ashamed that you were so into video games. And then as an adult, you're still that into video games, perhaps even more so.
Yeah.
Because now you're taking time away off adult shit to go and play video games. It still has that in my mind. That still has this connotation in my head. Like I'm not doing anything productive. I'm actually just fucking off.
But in the meantime, like everybody else is just watching Netflix.
Right. But no, not a lot. In my mind, not a lot of people make that distinction. Instead of watching Netflix or the live television, I'm taking my free time instead of sitting on the couch watching a movie or something. I'm actually interacting with this interactive movie called a video game.
Yeah, totally. Okay, cool.
So that's how I try to explain it to people. But because I still feel that, especially adults are, like our age, because they grew up like that too. If people were playing video games, they should be doing something else.
Yeah. I feel I spend a lot of time because like outside of the anime video game thing, I'm also like a huge like space science nut. That's like
sci-fi.
No, not sci-fi, but like actual space science and stuff, and astrophysics and all things Carl Sagan and that kind of stuff. Like it's shaped kind of like everything I think about the world and who I am and what I am in it. And all these people like Carl Sagan and Bill Nye,
Neil deGrasse
Tyson, these people are all communicators, and they do a pretty good job as a team over the years explaining something that a lot of people aren't into or don't understand and getting them to get it and getting them to be like, oh man, if someone had just I don't know how many times I've sent like a Carl Sagan video on YouTube to somebody and had them be like, if I thought of it that way back when I was a kid, like my entire attitude about everything would have changed. And it's all about like conveying the good sides to people and
conveying the interesting sides of like science or astrology or stuff like that. Well, that's just a failure of the education. That's just a failure of the sorry, whatever.
It's a big difference.
I'm a Capricorn, okay? What? But it's just a failure of the education system ultimately, because as a kid, they feed, like, you have these teachers that feed you biology and chemistry, and as a kid, you're already forced to go to school anyway. You don't want to learn. You want to go and play with your friends. You want to go do something. You want to go out and.
Well, it's about making it fun. That's why like the Bill Nye show was like so integral to getting so many people into science. And having got to, for like a really lucky year of my life, spend time around him and see his mindset of how he tries to like get people to care about this thing that he cares so much about, which when it boils down to it, it's just like he cares about the survival of humanity. Like that's it. Like it's not.
He does strike me as a person that he's not doing it just to be famous or anything. He's doing it because he truly wants to change the world and let them know like this stuff is really cool and pertinent to our survival.
Yeah. In fact, it's like it's not just that he's not doing it for fame. He's doing it at quite a big sacrifice. If you like talk to him outside of is there people?
Someone just
It's UPS.
Oh,
it's fine. Okay, you'll just have to cut this part out.
That's fine.
And make it seem like nothing happened.
This is live, bro. We're live.
Oh man.
Anyway, go on. Sorry.
No, it's all good.
UPS interrupted our Bill Nye talk. Damn it.
But yeah, he's also doing it at what you get a great sense for being a sacrifice. Like you can tell when the cameras are off and he's not performing, that like he really is not just in his personality on TV, but he really is like living this struggle of getting people to care about this. Mm-hmm. And he cares about it immensely. And it's less imperative, I feel, that people get into video games and anime than people who get into the idea that like we really are changing our climate. But I think that there's so much good that comes out of that culture, especially in the storytelling and especially in things like anime, mm-hmm. That aren't touched on a whole lot in the Western world. And so like there's so many people that tell me, where I'm going with this is that like I spend a lot of time trying to figure out how I can get all my friends that don't get it to get it. And instead of just being like, oh, you don't, it's fine. Some people like their thing. Some people, like something different or whatever, which is okay. But there's so many people that don't get video games, and then I sit them down and I have them play Journey. Did you ever play Journey?
I never played Journey.
Journey is...
But I was already into video games anyway, so there's no convincing.
Well, no, but Journey was made by like this Santa Monica Studios company is a download only PlayStation 3 game, mm-hmm. That got Game of the Year.
So it's a recent game.
It won like 2 years ago. Like every award practically it got, and it was just a downloadable like $9.99 or $19.99 thing. Like you couldn't buy it in a store or whatever. It was made by the same people that made a game called Flower and Flow. It was their third game. For instance, Flower, you play the wind and you blow over some grass over flowers, and like that's it. It's like a meditation, but it's amazing. And that description doesn't do it justice. And then Journey is you're this weird monk guy in the middle of just like a desert sand dune environment with some ruins down in front of you. Mm-hmm. And way off in the distance, you see a mountain with a pillar of light shooting out of it, like the Luxor in Vegas, but like, old looking. And there's no explanation. There are no actions to take in the game. There's a button that makes you kind of jump, somewhat fly. And then there's another button that makes a little like bloom sound. And that's it.
And you're like, what
is this? And you run down the sand dune and you head toward the light on the mountain. And it like what follows, you can play through the whole game in about 4 hours, 4.5, something like that. But what follows is probably the most beautiful video game experience I've ever had in my life. It is unbelievable. Like if you hit the select button, you sit down in your whatever environment you're in, and the camera will just kind of like pan around you. And I think if you sit for 15 minutes and just meditate, you get like an achievement. Like it's it's so not what a video game is to a lot of people.
Yeah, because I can imagine people who aren't into video games trying to play that game and be like, I don't get it, bro.
No.
Where's the explosions? Where's my gun?
But that's the thing is that the people that don't play video games, they think like, oh, video games are all guns and explosions, mm-hmm. and Tetris. I can just turn that game on, hand them the controller, tell them nothing, and they will walk away saying like, I totally get video games. Like they will say this, like it stands alone as art, and it's more valuable than half the movies or 3/4 of the movies that person's probably ever watched. In what you get out of a game that again has no dialogue, has no nothing, but it's deeply emotional. And so there are games like this that exist, and I just, it's so funny to like watch someone who's like, oh, I haven't played a game since I was like 9 or whatever, and they make fun of me for playing video games, and then I'll get them to come over and play it on my projector because I have a projector set up. It's pretty nice, and they'll just like get entranced by it. And
well, you're doing God's work then.
And same thing on the anime side. Someone made a comment to me the other day about how even though they don't really like the show Girls a whole lot, there's a whole lot of value in it for showing female lead characters that aren't just there as like people for guys to date. You know, like I don't know if you've been aware of that conversation that's happening, and like the test of a movie is like, is there any scene in the entire movie where a girl is there, not like,
as a prop,
or whatever? Yeah, exactly. And Girls is a show that's completely that. But at the same time, for how long, for how many decades has anime been making these super strong female characters, and video games making these super strong female characters that have nothing to do with men at all?
I don't think Anita Sarkeesian would agree with you on that front.
Who?
Anita Sarkeesian, she became like the Gamergate scandal and stuff. That was right in the heart of it. Did you ever hear about that?
No, I don't know what this is.
It's so confusing. Even I don't even know about it, because like, dude,
We'll
I just love video games. Why are you guys like arguing about games? I just want to play video games. If it's great. If it's not, you know. But the conversation started, and I'm gonna butcher this, and so please forgive me, because I try not to get into all that.
Go broad strokes.
Broad stroke is Anita Sarkeesian started pointing out these things in video games where like women are often portrayed as props for men, or they're dressed in scantily clad clothes, even though they're warriors. If they were warriors, they wouldn't be wearing a bikini top, you know?
Yeah.
So she would bring up these things, and she got harassed by all these different men and different like fucking gamers out there, and it became like this huge fucking conversation piece about like we need to put more women in games and stuff to and make more female lead characters.
And what market is she in? Is she an American? Is she?
I didn't watch any of her videos, and again, I'm not going to take an opinion on whether I agree with her or not, because again, I didn't spend that much time into looking into it.
Yeah.
Because I just love video games, and I'll leave the political talk for them to other people who are smarter than me. So I'm going to try to stay out of it and not say anything that could, inflame on the internet, people trolling me and stuff.
So there are always going to be American games and Japanese games and European games. There are always going to be things that, of course, portray women that way. And it is kind of weird that, especially across anime, there's like this weird, like some of the strongest female characters I can think of, almost all of the strongest female characters I can think of, are anime characters.
Interesting, yeah.
But at the same time, like a good 60% of them are like super overly sexualized.
Yeah.
But there are no scenes. It's not part of their story or anything. It's just like what the women wear in them. And there's like an off comment here, an off comment there. But I mean, I'm thinking about things like Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind. I'm thinking of Princess Mononoke. I'm thinking about Spirited Away. I'm thinking about like actual wholesome content that's about like a woman or a girl's coming of age, or a woman's maturation, and if that's even a word.
Imagination.
No, like the maturing of a woman. Like it's not just coming of age, but like also
maturation.
I don't know. I think we're just gonna both show how terrible we are at this.
That's okay. We know what you're talking about.
But that's the point. Communication is about being effective, not being right. Strategery.
Thanks, George Bush, for that. I use that all
But-
the time. It's a good level of strategery, and people look at me like, what? Like George Bush? Come on.
Yeah. But
George
anyway,
W?
I just like there are always going to be situations that you can point out to any argument that go the other way. But the only thing that I'm saying is that I have found a lot more inspiring female roles in Japanese animation, whether it be video games or anime or like animated movies, which I guess is still anime, but
Yeah.
than I have in most Western
That's
content.
so I mean odd to me, because you hear like about the Japanese culture, the common idea against the Japanese culture is very chauvinistic is a very strong word, but it's very
It's man-centric.
man-centric. You know,
Absolutely.
the culture of, so that's interesting that you
Mhm.
would say that you found a lot more strong female characters in Japanese anime than
I mean, I think that's
here in America.
that's what's coming out in art. You could, like, I mean, I really appreciate my upbringing, and I appreciate where I live and all the luxuries that come with that. But I think America has proven to be pretty great as a whole at like saying one thing and doing another thing.
This is the part where we kind of go off the rails and start talking politics a little bit. So fast forward to 1 hour, 33 minutes, if you don't care about what our political thoughts are.
And saying like, oh, what are you talking about? We value our women, but then like, paying them 60 cents on the dollar, kind of thing, and yes, a lot of great strides have been made across the world because like, I think global culture was kind of man-centric, at least in the Western world.
Well, what about the argument? Now, this is just the argument because I don't try to get into too much politics, but I guess the argument for the 60 cents or 70 cents on the dollar argument, there is an argument from the factual feminist. Her name is the factual feminist, and she has this YouTube channel, and she is a liberal feminist.
Yeah.
But she looks at the facts, and she actually explains the whole 60 cents to the 70 cents to the dollar, and way better than I could ever do it. But apparently, essentially, it's because men often go for the more dangerous jobs. They often go for the more dirty jobs, and it's just that there are more men applying for those jobs, so therefore they get paid. That's what skews the payment in the whole like grand scheme of the whole 60 cents to the 70 cents to the dollar. Not saying that sexism doesn't exist, and it's not a reason for that.
So the comparison of whatever cents on the dollar, I don't know what it is now. I want to say it's somewhere around 80 or whatever. Of course, it varies by industry, but that is assuming same job, same experience, basically.
Right. Okay.
Not different jobs or whatever.
Right.
And if anything, if there are more men applying for a certain type of job, it would mean that it would drive the price down because there's a lot of competition for it.
I'm in no position to argue
And
any sort of point.
And neither am I.
So,
like,
but I have heard the opposite conversation, the opposite side of of that particular conversation, and it was compelling, and it was like, oh, okay, I didn't think of it that way. So because maybe I think most of the time when we're having these conversations about race or about gender or about anything like that, I feel like a lot of the times both parties are right. And with anything, if both parties are right, then there's like no consensus. There's no like, well, how do we fix it? Well, both parties are saying...
Well, it's because there's no such thing as a binary one way or the other situation in the whole world. Everything is...
full of gray.
Yeah. Everything's a scale.
And you can't make everyone happy.
Everything is a scale, and if you talk about it as it's one way or the other, it's already a downfall.
Right.
It's already a problem because you're saying like, you believe this, I believe this, we're going to clash. But what it is really we probably agree on 40% of the same shit. And then the other 60% like might stray a little bit one way or the other. And then there might be 1 or 2 points, but like that's the thing. You can take the same set of data and spin it in 4 different ways and take, based on like, you can look at using this income gap thing. Like you can take income data from the last 20 years and run it through a bunch of a bunch of scenarios and figure out how to get some charts that show like, oh, this is how much men make. But depending on what regions you show or what your year range is or whatever parameters you decide to put on that data,
Right.
there you could probably take the same data that they're looking at and make it look like women make more than men just by selecting what part of the data you look at.
Right.
And so no matter what argument anybody ever has, there's always going to be a counter argument to it.
Yeah.
But I think that's why it's important to just not lose sight of the fact that we need to.
That we're all human and that we're all in this together.
Yes, absolutely, and we all kind of want the same things.
Right. We just argue on how to, fix problems.
And
like
we
how is
also
the best
get
way to
too
fix
attached
things.
to the idea of being right about something.
And
to the point
also
where we start
too,
arguing about
and
it.
also too, when we have these arguments, and we just saw it in the 2016 election, where each side was arguing with the other, with the starting point of the other person being lesser than.
Yeah,
And that's not how you start it.
absolutely.
And you can definitely see it in the Trump side with
Mm-hmm.
people, and then you can see it with the liberal side, and the liberals will say like, oh, we don't do that. It's like, you kind of do. And I'll give you an example, and this is a very small example, but when I saw it, I was like, okay, I get it. This is why Trump was elected. And it was when Meryl Streep did that speech at the Oscars right after Trump got elected. And she went on this beautiful speech about like, America is nothing but immigrants. We're all immigrants. Without immigrants, America wouldn't be in America. And I was like, yes, 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 yes. Tell it, Streep, because I love you. You're killing it.
Tell it, Streep.
And at the end, she had to tag everything by saying, if it wasn't for the arts, you would have nothing but MMA and football. And that is not the arts. And everyone cheered and clapped. And at that point,
Yeah.
I was like, I know you did that for a laugh, and I know you did it for comedic effect, but there is a large subsection of people that would take great offense to that.
That are all about MMA and football.
And because they're all about MMA and football, you just said that they were less than. You just took them down a peg.
Absolutely.
For absolutely no reason.
Yeah.
You're already rich and famous, Meryl. You don't need to take down the Joe Schmo who has to go to a paper mill for 50 hours a week because and when he gets home he just wants to watch some football or some MMA.
Yeah.
You don't need to do that. That's unnecessary. And that is the reason why we have Trump in office right now, is because people like people view the liberal aspect of that just like kind of like what's the word I'm looking for? Where you look down on others,
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it's just you have
it's
this
very
weird
pretentious,
pretentious,
very
and there's a superiority complex
And
involved. And
I think people just got sick of that, sick of being looked down upon just because I don't have as high as education as you.
Mm-hmm.
Don't look at me like I'm not a person. I'm also a
Absolutely.
person, even though that my views aren't as educated as yours.
Mm-hmm.
It's so when I heard that, I was like, I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it.
life is very different for everybody, and I live in Portland, right?
Yeah.
And Portland is like the center of the like the only food we should ever eat is grown in our backyard. And if you it's a pretty extreme place on that whole left side of things. And I've lived most of my life on the West Coast. San Francisco until I was like 16, LA for 10 years, and then now Portland for a year and a half. And then I was out here for a bit in Nashville. But I find that a lot of the people that get caught up, and nobody is all for like human rights, like I am. I'm one of those people where if I could give up 20% of the money that I make every year, like an extra 20%,
Yeah.
just so that I know that every generation born after me gets awesome education all the way through college with no questions asked.
Fix our fucking bridges
and good education, and I would do it.
Same.
I would say absolutely 100%. Some generation needs to be the first generation to be like, you know what? I didn't grow up with those luxuries, but I'm going to make sure that every freaking generation in our country and hopefully the world at some point will have those things.
Mm-hmm.
Someone's got to start it, and I kind of want to be one of the people that has a chance. But the other side of that is I think that a lot of people on the coasts and a lot of people in the big cities where things go more progressive forget is that there's an entire very large section of the country that don't have the luxury of thinking about that kind of stuff because they use 100% of their paycheck from their 3 jobs just to try to pay for a place to live. And when there was a time when you could work at a factory and put in your time, come home, drink a beer, watch some TV, you got a life, you could support a family, you can do your thing, you got your truck, whatever.
Yeah.
There's this life that you could have, and then when the factory closes down, all you have to look at is like, okay, well, why are all the jobs gone? Why is it that I don't have education. No one in my family's ever been educated, but we've always been able to survive.
Yeah.
Why can I not survive anymore? And then, like, so those people aren't in a position to be putting that kind of money into, like, they're like, why would I think about the other people's education? Like, I don't even have my own education, you know? Like,
right. And then they would make the arguments, no one's ever looked out for me. I always looked out for myself.
Exactly. And
so
that's
fuck everybody else.
Completely understandable. And then if you just take anybody, I think it should be required for anybody to take, like, at some point in their life, a road trip around the U.S. and, like, spend an entire day driving through the deep south and listening to, like, a Baptist radio station. I did this 2 years ago when I came through with my friend Liam and man, because Jim West, he was like, whatever you do, like, don't go off on the back roads. Just get off, get your gas, and get back on the highway.
That's what I told Soren too. Is like Nashville's such an interesting place, and then you go 100 miles that way, and you're like, okay,
exactly. And so he was just like, man, and I was the whole time I was like, wait, because people had told us all across the country, like, you know, when you go through Alabama, like, just stay on the freeway. Like, it's better if you don't. Whatever. And the whole time I thought, I was like, oh, I wonder if it's because Liam's Asian, like, this is really terrible or whatever. And then when we got to Nashville and stayed with Jim, he's like, actually, it's because y'all are white. And I was like, no shit. Like, and so sure enough, like, we crossed the border in Alabama, our friend John's sleeping in the back, and like, I turned to Liam and he's like, we're getting off the freeway, right? And I was like, absolutely. And so we just took like a whole day back trip. We listened to Baptist radio the entire time. And when you really get a sense for the environment that people live in, it's so different from the cities. But when you get this idea of like a whole new way of living in your own country that feels like a different world, it starts to make sense. And it starts to make you realize, like, we're all people. No one's better than anybody else. And the only thing that we can do is try to understand and show up to a conversation without some kind of, I want this person to think the way I do.
Right.
Because it's just not going to happen.
Right. Right. You're absolutely right. And I think that's exactly what we saw in the 2016 election, and everyone just got too fucking cocky. And then it was just, again, you have to understand that the people who tend to be more conservative are people too. And you can't start a fucking conversation thinking that they fuck their sister. You know, you can't start the conversation that way. And liberals need to know this. You can't
just be like, this guy obviously hates gays and black people.
Right. You can't, like, just because someone voted for Trump doesn't make them a racist. And, because I'm progressive, I'm liberal. But when I see that we are doing the same things that conservatives would do to us and like immediately judge us for being, communist or socialist or something like that, or, we're anti-business or, stuff like that, we're doing the same things to them. We're thinking that they're uneducated hicks who hate hate America or hate black people, hate Muslims, hate everybody. We can't start a conversation that way. We can only talk about the facts, and we can only talk about policy, and we can have conversations about those things. When we start trading barbs with one another, thinking that they're lesser of a person, the conversation's just not going to go anywhere, regardless if you have good points or not.
Yep. Yeah. Moral of the story, we're all people.
We're all
people, Shane.
Yes, we are.
And at that, we don't need to talk about politics.
We just kind of went... I don't know how we started that.
Oh, yeah. We were talking about strong female characters, which there are many of in I think, in video game. It's like, yes, they're wearing something that looks like they're a burlesque dancer sometimes, but at the same time, they like command respect, and they
Well, look at Mila.
they have their own identities.
Look at Mila in the Tales series. Like, she's wearing nothing. She's wearing absolutely nothing. Or the Tales of Berseria.
I'm playing Tales of Berseria right now, and it starts like that whole game. The first couple hours of it are this like very wholesome, like completely covered up girl taking care of her family, and like her older sister passed away. That's like part of the backstory, and so she's taking care of her little brother and her sister's, I guess, fiance. Maybe they got married, but I just know they were together. So now it's her like brother-in-law basically and her little brother, and she's cooking for him and doing like all the stuff. She's basically the mother of the house and like trying her best and trying to keep people's spirits up. And then like something terrible happens that I won't tell you because
Don't give it away.
It's a modern game and it just came out in January. It's really good. Everybody should play it. Especially if you've never played a Tales game, you'll have your mind blown.
You think that's what you should start with, is Berseria?
I don't know. I start with Vesperia, and
Vesperia
I
is
love it.
that's the one to go to.
So good.
That's
But
the one
who
to
wants
go
to
to.
go back in time to Xbox 360?
Sometimes you got to do that, man.
I guess.
Sometimes.
Well, the benefit of all these things, same with anime, is like you can watch something from 1987 and it looks the same way as it does today. So it's like the Xbox 360 Tales game and this PlayStation 4 one kind of don't look any different.
Yeah.
But Vesperia is really good. But start with Vesperia. Sorry.
Yeah, Vesperia, I think it has a more. I mean, I haven't played Berseria, but ever since Vesperia, I've played a number of them. Besides, except for Zelia, don't play that one. Tales of Zelia sucks.
That's not what you have over
not
here?
Zelia.
I was
I'm
gonna say
sorry,
you have
not
Zelia
Zelia.
right behind
I
you.
got confused. I'm sorry. Zelia 1 and 2 are awesome.
Are you talking about
Zestiria?
Zestiria? Yeah.
Zestiria sucks.
Yeah.
Sucks
That's
hard.
what I've heard. But yeah, so Berseria, like something happens and like all of a sudden, like basically this girl's completely transformed and suddenly she's like half naked. And the entire game story is a revenge story. And it's all about her doing everything she has to do and sacrificing her own humanity to make something right. And it's like there are a couple comments every once in a while that make like where someone will say something or someone will like look at her in a certain way and it'll be like eyes up here or I will literally kill you, like because she can, because she's like the toughest of all of the cast. Like you're in a group with like pirates and it's instead of like a group of ragtag heroes saving the world, you are like a group of misfits and pirates and people that like work in the dark circles trying to exact revenge. Everybody has their own reasons for different things, of course, but her story is a revenge story and it has nothing to do with anything but like her own motivations and her own growth and her own feelings and thoughts, and like the opposite gender has nothing to do with any of it.
Man, I can't wait to start playing that one. I need to start playing Persona 5 first because I love the Persona series.
Yep.
Played them all. Now except for Persona 2. Never played Persona 2.
I got off to a bad start with Persona because I was looking for when I told you that I blew through like Final Fantasy 5 all the way up to 9 during college on my hacked PSP. I also played Crisis Core, Final Fantasy 7 Crisis Core.
I need to play that one.
And that was it was the first game that I ever finished and cried like
You told me that
quite heavily at the end.
Even though we all know what happens.
we all know what happens,
and then maybe that's what makes you cry because you're like the anticipation of that moment. You're
I
like,
don't
oh
know.
my god.
Yeah, when you're like, oh my god, it's here. I mean, I could just show you on YouTube like the last 20-minute cinematic of the game, and you'll just like, like it is.
No,
insane.
I need to play the whole thing. I need to.
It's so good.
Get developed with the characters
and so that's to this day the only PSP game I ever played, except for Persona. It was like Persona Portable or Persona.
Was it Persona 3?
Persona 3.
That was a good one.
I think
like
it was
that one a lot.
P3P.
Yeah,
or
P3,
something.
Yeah, and then
But it was like the extra P
Yeah.
makes all the difference,
course.
apparently. Because
P3P.
P3P, and I just remember like getting into it, and I'm like, why are they shooting themselves in the head to activate their special ability? You have to shoot yourself like literally in the temple.
Dude, that's anime shit.
Like, what is going on here?
That's anime shit, man. That's where they take the liberties and be like, well, we're tired of people just like calling out their special powers. So how
Why
about
can't you just be like, activate and like hold your fist up like anybody else?
No, dude, they gotta shoot yourself in the face.
You have to kill yourself to like wake
Bring
up
out-
the demon inside.
But isn't that so anime though?
It is
like
so anime.
It's
It's so
such
true.
it's something that in an
It's
anime
so
that
true.
that would you do. And what's funny is like how the main character just sees it and he's like, oh, I can do this, and he just does it, and just like, I'm gonna put this gun to my head, even though it's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
But he does it, and he's like, oh yeah, I'm a superhero now.
So I don't know how similar Persona 3 on the PSP
Persona
was.
5, you just call out.
But is Persona 3 for the PlayStation Portable the same as Persona 3 for...
right? I think
Is
so.
it the same game? Is it just a port?
I think so.
I just assumed it was like a spin-off kind of thing.
It might be
Kind of like
'cause
how they'll make a, like Final Fantasy, whatever, like Tactics. And
I think it's the same game. It might not be, but I'm pretty sure it's the same game.
I got 3 hours in and stopped. I was just like, I don't understand this. Why am I in class? Why am I in school right
It's
now?
such a cool. It's
I don't want to be in
so
school.
Cool.
I'm playing a video game.
But I think I love that setting where you're it's in a modern setting and you're going to school and you can romance your characters and like it's kind of like a dating simulator. There's like dating simulator stuff going on.
Really?
Yeah, and then there's
so
a dungeon crawler.
Dating
Then you go into
simulator.
the dungeon to level up your characters and pursue the story, and then
I guess I just
Yeah.
never got to the story. It took too long for the story to start, so I didn't have anything to attach to. So I just kind of fell off. It was one of those things where I was like, oh, I haven't played this game for like a week. Oh, whatever.
I like those.
But-
I like Persona because they do a really good job of character development with your party.
Are they
like they do really
serialized?
good? No, they're all their own separate stories.
So can I just pick up with 5?
yeah, just
'Cause
pick
I
up
know
5.
2 people that have voices in 5.
Yeah, dude.
And,
It just
and I remember seeing that, and I was like, "Oh, cool! There's a reason to finally like force myself to get." Through
And from
Persona.
what I've heard is that they've made 5 more accessible to, because the problem with 3 and 4 is that there's a lot of grinding.
Hmm.
Especially if you want to get the right story, because and again, it's like there's different endings based on the decisions that you make in the game. So if you want to get the correct ending, you have to do a certain amount of things, and you got to follow the game facts. The gamefacts.com. You got to make sure, okay, go here today, and it's by you get day and night sequences. You can do activities during the day or during the night, and like meet with all these other NPCs and like follow their little storylines, and
Yeah. Oh man, we have to talk about this. What
what are we talking about?
Game facts. Okay. How much? So I know. Oh crap! Sorry, Mike. I know you're like kind of a completionist.
A little bit.
You definitely take the time to go through some extras. Like you're not just like a let me blast through this story kind of person.
It drives me crazy when I'm finished with the story and there was something that I missed.
Yeah. Let's just say this. What level were you when you beat Final Fantasy VIII?
Can't remember. I think it was level. Okay, well, I had full disclosure.
Mm-hmm.
I actually cheated through that game.
You son of
I know.
bitch.
Well, because number
How did
one,
you cheat through it? Did you just
I
draw all
I-
your shit?
No, I game sharked it. I just like wanted
What?
level 99 and play because I love the story, but
Okay, we're
I
changing
don't
the
like
subject.
it. I
Back
don't
to
like
game
it.
facts.
I don't like it when the character, because the monsters level up with you and it becomes like a thing where you have to constantly grind.
No, that's not what that means. That means that it's more about your strategy than it is anything else.
I
It's
didn't
about
feel like strategizing because I was in. And here's the other thing too. I was like into football too at that time, and I was going to high school football, so I had to stay after school for a while. So I didn't have a lot of time to finish. And then it was like super homework time, so I was like, "Fuck it! I want to play the game and I want to get through the story because
Yeah.
the story is most
I get
important
it.
to me."
I get it, and yeah, me too. The first time I played Final Fantasy VIII, I ended up in this like depressive spot because I got I mean, you kind of remember the goal of the bad person,
Yeah.
Ultimacia, in
Yeah.
that game, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like they want to figure out how to like go into the future with a person who's capable of going into the past and activate that person's abilities so you can compress the future and the past and the present all at the same
all at
time
once.
to basically make a alternate type universe where all time is happening concurrently, and she is the only person who can survive in that kind of an environment. It's big. It's very like astrophysicsy.
Yeah.
And you end up going to the orphanage home that's like a portal in a way to like this future place, and you go into the future zone and you know this is going to be the final fight because you're going to go find Ultimacy in the future. And then you walk into like the mansion in future zone, like you're floating in ether, like you're in this weird space, you're like everything's weird, like kind of like one of those like surrealist paintings. And you walk in and then you realize that you need to kill 8 bosses. I think it's 8. I think you need to kill
something crazy.
You need to kill 8 bosses before you can get all your abilities back.
Yeah.
To fight the final person. And I showed up completely unprepared, and I had already saved the game. And literally ran out of every item I had by like the 5th boss. And so I had like, and you get your menu items back, like the ability to use magic, like one at a time as you kill them. So I got all the way to the end of the game and couldn't get to the end. Like I didn't even bother fighting Ultimacia because I was like, I'm not going to even, I have no health potions. Like what am I going to do?
There's no way that you're going to be able to beat her.
So I had to completely scrap it and play the whole game over again.
Okay, see, my point being, if you had just had a Game Shark, you'd been able to beat the fucking game and then find the great scene at the end. And it's a great scene because what is his name is
and the song in that last
oh,
fight.
the song is great. The music in that game is probably the best of any Final Fantasy. I think that is 8 is
shots fired. I agree with you.
I
but
mean,
someone out there is going to be
something
pissed.
about that music, and I was trying to convince my wife to walk down the aisle to Eyes on Me acoustic guitar version, which is fucking beautiful.
And she wouldn't.
No, I decided against it because I was like, yeah, it's not really. I mean, it's really beautiful, but I think this would be more appropriate.
Yeah.
So it wasn't her. It was definitely me at the end. It's like, that'd have been nice.
But still like. If I'm on vacation, I just think of Fisherman's Horizon.
Oh man,
like I just want that playing and following me everywhere as I'm like walking around the town, and like,
it's so beautiful.
It's pretty great.
But back to the whole me cheating thing, because I tell people that I cheat through games, especially like the old games, like the old Final Fantasies that are like really grind heavy. And as a kid, I was just, I was doing other things. I was doing sports. I was doing all this. I was, I wanted to go out and play with my friends. But at the same time, I still wanted to complete these games because I like to complete a story. As you can see, I've been playing Mass Effect, and I've only been playing Mass Effect because I want to complete the story and then be done with it and move on to the next. I don't want to start another game and play, and then because that's what'll happen. I'll start playing another game, and then I'll start playing that game only, and then completely forgetting about Mass Effect and its story and me being involved in it, and I'm like, I don't want that to happen. So when I was doing like playing Final Fantasy as a kid, I was just like, I'm just going to use Game Shark and just beat through it and get through the story and see what and the story would captivate me enough that I didn't have to worry about the strategery
I
in
guess
the combat.
It's the same way. I mean, like I give you shit for it, but like
rightfully so. That's fine.
There's a way that you can get through 8 by just, I found this out on the second pass through, where if you just, when you get like the draw ability where you can draw magic, just get into fights with people out in the map and then don't kill them. Just spend the next 15 minutes drawing from them.
Right.
And then like stack up 99 of every spell.
Yeah.
Because that's what makes you stronger in that game.
Yeah.
And I just did that and kept everything at 99 and just blew through it. Like not a single problem with anybody. And which is kind of like game genieing it. They just built it
so
into the
what
game.
are we all doing here? It's like you took the time to grind. I did not. I just skipped
Even then it takes maybe 2 hours to like put that time in, and then you're like the rest of your week you're just blowing right through it. But Yeah.
But again, that's still a loss of 2 hours of you just grinding.
So what about Lost Odyssey?
Oh man, if I could cheat through that fucking game, I would so.
Did you finish it?
No. Again,
Mr. I finished game.
I loved the story and I loved where it was going. That was what's pissing me off because I couldn't beat this fucking boss. And I was like, why is this game so fucking hard? This game does not need to be this fucking hard. The story is amazing.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that a lot of games happen. That's why I kept on using Game Genies, because you have this great story going on. And I understand that, you have to do some strategy, and
Would
that's
you
also
rather
a great
breeze
part of
through
it.
all the bosses, though?
If it's a great story like Lost Odyssey, I want to be captivated through the story, and it takes me out of it when the boss is so fucking hard. Or it wasn't even bosses; it was like normal. It was, and I couldn't grind in that game.
Did you have it on like a hard mode?
No, I was on
Weird.
straight easy, dude. That's the first thing I do. I want to get through this game. I want to, I want to escape.
Yeah.
I'm playing this game to escape. I'm not playing this game to be the best at it.
Yeah.
So,
I'm 12 hours into Berseria, and I turned the difficulty up to hard, and I've still never used a potion.
but there are examples like turn.
That game's super
It's
easy.
really hard for me in turn-based because I love turn-based, but at the same time it involves a lot of grinding and a lot of the same kind of okay, I gotta go into this monster pit about 12 times in order to level up my characters, and I gotta redo that again once I go to the other spot in the story. And I gotta and then you're spending like 5 hours trying to just, all you're doing is fighting the same bosses over and over again, and with turn-based battles, it's not as exciting as a Tales game where it's like a action game.
Running around in an arena.
Running around,
just like
yeah.
playing Street Fighter almost.
So I
Like,
don't cheat at Tales games because the combat is just as fun
it's
as
so
the story.
fun that I like want to actually level up. I'm just like,
Right.
there are 10 guys in this area. I'm going to kill all of them.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more fun. And that's
No,
what I
I get
really
you.
liked about Final Fantasy 15 going that action route because I had fun in the combat, So with the turn-based games, I just wanted to get through the story.
Yeah.
So back to Lost Odyssey, fucking couldn't beat any of the smaller bosses. So I was like, I can't play this game. I can't do it. I don't want to play. I don't want to hate this game because of the difficulty of the combat.
Well, I mean,
and you can call me a little bitch. I don't care. Like,
hey,
I just couldn't fucking.
I didn't call you anything.
Well, anyone who's played, all you need to do is
No,
just do this and do this.
I
You fucking
totally get
idiot.
it. I don't understand it because I played it through once. I just started the game, played
Maybe I
it,
was just doing
never had a hard time, got through it. But I'm also one of those people where it's like, if I'm running through a dungeon and I know that I can dodge every enemy through the dungeon, I won't. I'll at least fight the ones that I get to along the way.
That's what I did.
I
That's what
won't
usually do.
necessarily run around and pick fights, like other than maybe once or twice I think in that game. Like I might have went and like, all right, I'm gonna get in a couple extra fights because that last one was a little hard.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna I'm gonna give myself a little extra muscle. But yeah, I just maybe like toward the end I had to play it 2 or 3 times to beat the boss kind of thing. But man, that backstory in those stories, the 1,000 Years of Dreams,
Yeah.
that's still the best story of any video game I've played.
I know, and it makes me angry that I couldn't. That like something about the combat just drove me fucking crazy.
You should go back. And
I
do
should.
it.
I will go back
Do
to
it,
it.
Shane,
I've been
for
meaning
me.
to go. I've been meaning to buy it again and just give it another shot. And maybe there was something I was doing wrong, or I wasn't in the right headspace to play the game, or
Do you still have the
something
book
like
that I
that.
gave you?
yes, I do.
Cool.
I still have the book. Is it right there?
Is it over there?
It might be.
Nope.
Okay, it's probably.
It
in
was a white one.
my drawer somewhere.
Unless it's down. No, that's all music and stuff.
I have it. It's somewhere.
Whatever. I was very proud of that book.
Dude, yeah, it was awesome. But yeah, it was just kind of like. So yeah, I play all my games on easy mode, and because again, I want to escape. I'm using this time to meditate. I'm not using this time. I don't want to be a competitive fucking gamer.
Does that mean that you only play story games?
And I don't play a lot of story games because I still want some action. I still want to be.
Well, no, I'm saying like Mass Effect. I consider that to be a story game.
Yes,
It's like
I thought you were talking about like those games with the independent artful games, the games that win the awards and stuff like that. I don't usually play those because I want some action in my game. I want the explosions. I want the love story, and I want
Yeah.
that's kind of stuff. So, but yeah, story Dragon Age, love those games. Mass Effect, love those games. Star Wars, Knights of the Old Republic, love those games. And great examples of making the combat, doing it in a way where you don't have to grind, that you can level up as you go through the story, and you still feel validated and still feel like, okay, I'm strong enough, I can do this. And it's still just hard enough where you're like, oh okay, cool, I can just do this and move over here and beat them. Fine, great.
And you never got into the MMO thing?
No. No, I have friends who went down that rabbit hole and never came out.
Oh.
You came out.
I did come out.
You actually continued your life. But
I played pretty competitively in one of them too.
Yeah.
So.
I do have friends who get lost. And plus, like...
It's easy to get lost in that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I kind of turned off... I don't know. My games are a very personal thing to me. And so playing them with other people online kind of... It doesn't interest me very well because this is my time.
Yeah, I just remember back in the day when I was living out here, I remember Halo came out and you guys would always play
That's
Halo.
different though. That's different. That's a complete...
That's why I was surprised to find out that you don't like first-person shooters. 'Cause I thought you were all about them from the Halo days.
I was about playing it with my friends in that setting because we all were set up in different rooms
and like, okay.
And because it was like more like an arcade style.
It was a LAN party, basically.
Yeah, it was like that is a different kind of fun. MMOs are you're playing alone. You're in the zone playing with other people online, and if I'm going to be sitting down alone, I'm going to be going through this single player campaign and go through the story and see if I like it or not.
Exactly. It's like, I like that you say it's like a movie that you play, basically.
It's an interactive movie that you play.
That's how I see them too.
Yeah.
Yep. But cool.
I think...
How long have we been talking?
I think about 2 hours.
Jeez.
I think we've... At least. I think this has been...
Yeah, I noticed that
really
the light's
good.
changing outside.
I know.
Like,
I'm starting to get kind of hungry, actually.
Things are like, oh my God, it's dinner time and we never ate lunch.
I know. Damn, but this has been a good talk.
Yeah, dude.
And we should definitely do this again when I'm out in Portland, and we should bring George.
Yes, we'll do that. We should do it again when I actually become somebody. Then I could draw you some views. Or listens.
I do have interesting people that are not yet famous, but they will be. Yes. And you're talking to one, or you're listening to one right now. I'm talking to one. You're listening.
You're talking, being yourself. I was like, man, this guy's full of himself.
I'm going to make it, bro.
I've always believed in you. That's why I have your symbol hanging in my house for, 12 years now or whatever. I left in 2006, right? So I left in 2006. So 11 years I've had that broken symbol hanging on my wall somewhere.
Keep it, man, because when I make it big, it's gonna
eBay
bring down the
shit
world.
Out of that.
The world won't know what to do with Shane Wise once he reaches the fucking top.
Yeah. The funny thing is you're gonna get known for like this, not the music, and then like I'm gonna be like, oh, Shane Wise, and they're like, the guy who does the video game podcast. I'm like, yeah, look, this is a symbol. Why does he have a symbol? Like, does he play drums?
Dude, just imagine me, a person who can't talk good, becoming famous for a fucking podcast.
Yeah, well, people like listening to people who can't talk good. Happens all the time.
All right, bro. I love you. Thank you for doing this, and we're going to do it again.
Blow it up.
Boom.
Boom.
High fives. Yay.
Yay.
All right, bud. Woohoo. Let's go get some lunch.
Woo.
Let's go see Kyle.
Let's go see Kyle and get some lunch. Yeah.
And that's it for episode 3. Thanks, guys, for listening so much. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast and rate it. And be sure to subscribe to my YouTube. It's youtube.com/WiseDrums. My Twitter is @TheWiseDrums. My Instagram is @WiseDrums. SoundCloud is I Am Masamoon if you want to listen to any of my songs that I do on the side, whatever. I think that's it. So you guys have a good day. Episode 4 hopefully coming soon. And just have a good one. Bye.